How the Ecological System Supports Child Development by Sarah Scheibel. The benefits of student and teacher-student relationships. I observed the school of Judd in the classroom in Morgan Peterson's second grade classroom, and I observed what challenging experiences do does the classroom see, and how relational trust with the children impacts it, and how long it took to build relational trusts, and how many more child-child interactions did a certain student have after 8 weeks. I also I asked her to describe the relationship that she had with a child when she first met, and after 8 weeks, how did that relationship change? What did you do in your class to encourage child-to-child interactions, and how did those experiences support student skills? So this is all based off of Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems. The three themes were: when teachers get to know a student, they are more successful when teaching and scaffolding. Relational trust established between teacher and student decreases observable behaviors in the classroom. Group work can encourage students to collaborate and share ideas. So theme one, when a teacher gets to know a student, they are more successful when teaching and scaffolding. There was one student with challenging behaviors, but near the end of the year when I was observing, he experienced less, and the teacher noticed that he experienced less challenging behaviors and more problem solving. Relational trust between a student and a teacher decreases observable behaviors in the environment. This is more based off of the pyramid model, because the pyramid model is very relationship oriented between the teacher and the student, and values teacher and student trust, and positive reinforcement, and effective classroom environments. That's just a video. Oop. The part three was that group work can encourage collaboration among students. So the teacher that I observed, Miss Peterson, a lot of her group work was worksheets with a passage and then a multi-choice question afterwards. So the children just took turns reading the passage and then just asked what each other thought about the question. This isn't as effective at building collaboration as an open-ended activity where students are creative and collaborating creatively. This is more a close-ended activity, so students are just basically working by themselves to read that one section of passage, and the other student is working by themselves to read that one section of passage that they're assigned to. And then they both have ideas about what the right or wrong answer is for the multi-choice questions. So something that would encourage child-to-child interactions is more creative, project-based, inquiry-based activities. So one student's hesitation to interact with other students and begin the assignment may be caused by his cultural background. So I had a student who was very quiet at the beginning of all of his assignments, and he just sat and looked straight ahead and didn't engage in the materials. But when a teacher sat with him, then he would engage, which could be maybe a reflection of his home life and how he completes activities and tasks at home. How does this data help you examine how schools include and value families and communities? This school used text, phone calls, a variety of communication with families, and they worked collaboratively. And then how do How do relationships within the classroom include student to student and student to teacher um, support or limit a positive learning environment? So one quote was that Sunny High, located in Sunnyside, Washington, had a graduation rate of only 49% in 2009. But after Chuck Salina took it over in 2010 to 2011 school year as in the 2010-2011 school year as the turnaround principal, the graduation rate rose to 85% in just 3 years. And this is a graph illustrating that change. Here are my resources and the impacts of school-wide goals and values on students. I investigated how many times ideas are repeated in the handbook and how often students are recognized for something positive, which also relates to the pyramid model. How many professional development opportunities are there each year? What topics do the family resources focus on? What are the resources? Where are the resources found? What extracurricular activities does the school offer, and how do they support student development? This is also based off of Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems with these four themes. When asking for permission and following directions is valued, students look to teachers for guidance. When students are recognized for saying something positive, their self-esteem grows. Frequent professional development opportunities support staff collaboration, and extracurricular activities promotes development in all domains. So as far as the handbook, it's really evident that the handbook prioritized teachers going to, or sorry, students going to teachers for guidance. There's a lot of asking permission, don't do something without permission, follow classroom rules, follow directions, follow all staff directions, raise your hand for permission, all of these where the student is going to the teacher. This is important for safety, but when this is too present in rules, then it can lead to students being over-reliant on teachers. Positive recognition grows self-esteem. So Abaya Judd does have lots of award ceremonies and small awards to give out to students each month for every grade. And then there are award ceremonies and they're announced on the loudspeakers in the morning. Professional opportunities happen about once a month at Abaya Judd, and they are open about 10 months out of the school year. So there's about 10 professional development opportunities, as well as a couple extra professional development opportunities at the very beginning of the school year for new staff. And extracurricular activities promotes development in all domains, and this can become a symbolic interaction when the students' ideas of school are changed because they enjoy going to school and therefore that's their interaction that they've associated with school is a positive interaction. So they'll enjoy going to school more if they participate in something that's intrinsically motivating. How does this data help you understand the diversity of families and cultural contexts? Abaya Judd is located in Prescott, which has a 78.1% of the population is white or European American, and the next highest number is 16.2% Hispanic. How does this data help you examine how schools include and value families and communities? Abaya Judd hosts a lot of ceremonies and they communicate with parents and they include professionals from the community to present or for professional development. Teacher-to-teacher relationships such as staff collaboration encourage sharing experiences and ideas. Teacher-to-parent relationships like communication and rich educational experiences at home. School-teacher relationships determines what support a teacher receives. School-parent relationships like resources and policies inform parents of school values. Here's my resources. How culture, values, and the economy influence child development. So this is Yavapai County, where the School of Biojet is located, specifically in Prescott. And this is also based off of Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems. The three themes are the culture that is most represented in the community is reflected in the local schools. The economics of the school community impacts what extracurricular activities the students participate in. Norms and beliefs influence child development. So again, the population is 78.1% European American, 16.2% Hispanic. Here's a graph showing the relationship between the three most present cultures. And it also states that 9.8% of the people living in Yavapai County are below the poverty line. So norms and beliefs influence child development, and norms and beliefs usually come from religions or practices that's common in the communities, and there's strong Christian, specifically Catholic ties in Yavapai County because of the cultures that reside there. How does this collective data help you understand the community settings and diversity of families and businesses in the community, along with communities, history, and the cultural context? So, of course, race and culture and beliefs, values, religion, that all impacts student development. How does this data help you critically analyze how community settings value, incorporate, build upon, or marginalize families and communities? They may marginalize families and communities because some cultures may prefer one skill over another, or a specific type of person, for example, women to do something rather than, for instance, men. So there are those different structures within a culture which can impact child development. And it may also marginalize families because it's such a large population of European Americans. If somebody from a different race or culture enters the community, they may feel like they're on the outside. So how might the cultural, economic, and social characteristics of the community in which the school is located impact student learning and development? All these things, values, beliefs, and norms associated with Yavapai County can impact child development. Here are my resources. How home life, school life, and environment influence academic success. So the Meso system, when you can choose meaningful connections by prioritizing two-way communication with families. That's from Waterford, an article by Waterford. And so this is just prioritizing collaboration with families, family engagement, so that the teacher and classroom can really know what background the student is coming from. The Chronos system, students grow and create new relationships and develop new behaviors over time. They transfer from classroom to classroom, and that's all something to guide students through. And teaching social emotional learning can increase student participation, and it's also something that parents do want to see more in the classroom, as per this graph. This is also based on Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory, and it's although social, emotional, sensory, and physical activity support student success, standardized one size fits all teaching does not. So this is just to say every child is different, impacted by their own individual environments, and therefore having standardized assessments and teaching just doesn't work as effectively as differentiating. Implications cross domains. Teacher-student relationships promote student achievement, and a teacher should be aware of every domain of a student and be aware of the whole child. In what ways do the interactions between a student's home life, school life, and community environment influence their overall development and academic success? again, with the cultural, family dynamic, values, beliefs, religion, race, etc. These are all things that can impact child development. Here are my resources. The impact of Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory in teaching. In my future practice, I will prioritize student-teacher relationships by implementing these 5 goals. And that's the first week of school, providing a questionnaire for parents. And this could look like, what type of communication do you use? What goals do you have for your children? What religion do you practice, if any? What culture does your family come from? What's your family dynamic? How many family members? What do they look like? How old? What are their genders, etc. Every month, schedule a free or low-cost field trip. This is something to incorporate the community and get the children outside and exploring and connecting to local people. Create a classroom culture by guiding group discussions and collaborating with students. When students are incorporated into developing classroom procedures, they're more likely to feel connected to them and responsible to follow those classroom procedures. And I also want to ensure the Family Student Handbook and other school resources align with my own teaching, because in the instance of the Abaya Judd handbook, it was very heavy on following teacher directions. And although that's very important for safety, I also support students being individuals and also having their own rights and say, because they are humans. Invite parents to volunteer or visit the classroom to read books or attend special events. This is another way to encourage family engagement. These goals are directly aligned with my values, which include student-teacher relationships, student-student collaboration, student creativity, family engagement, etc. I will approach relationship building by collaborating and getting to know students. These strategies are listed in the goals. This is also based on Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems. This whole presentation is. I will strengthen these relationships across the systems by encouraging these family engagement, understanding student backgrounds, collaborating with the community, and staying consistent through transitions. And that's the end. Thank you for listening.